The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style. From the highs to the lows, every story just explodes. Mike's got questions on the go, diving deep from head to toe. Every week the guests align, sharing moments so divine. Stay with us, the pace is fine. Every episode you'll find. The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style.
Joe Pechie, Hilton graduating class of 2008. Joe, thank you very much for being on the Big H Podcast. Where are you coming to us from today?
Coach, thanks for having me. I'm coming from the Upper West Side, Manhattan, New York City.
So you took your from the little village with a big heart of Hilton, and now you're in Manhattan, huh?
I'm just a little kind of guy. I went from we're going to call Hilton the Little Apple, we'll call New York City the Big Apple. So, yeah, I went from Hilton, New York to New York. And, two wonderful homes that I love very much.
Tell me a little bit about what that transition was like going from, a little village of Hilton and now a metropolis. What was that like?
That's a great question. I mean, Hilton has so many things that are wonderful about it. There's community, there's people who you recognize, and you care about. And it's funny, like where we live in New York, we actually have a lot of those things as well. Our neighbors are very neighborly. We know them. We get to interact with them on a frequent basis. The people around the neighborhood you get to know. But it definitely is is a change, living in a big city, big difference. But I wouldn't exchange either experience in the world, and happy to have both of them.
So when you say you live in Manhattan, automatically I think of high rises and apartments. What's your living quarters like?
And my wife and I live in an apartment. We live, a nice little neighborhood on the Upper West Side. We're not places. The apartment building is pretty high up, but we're not. I think you might be thinking of Manhattan, like all those big fancy buildings. We're sort of near the bottom.
And tell me a little bit about your wife. Where did you meet her? When did you guys get married? And any family that you've brought into the world? Yeah,
I met my wife 2010 at St. Bonaventure University. I know that's a school that means a lot to you. I was a junior. She was a senior. We were both RAs. And we just got to know each other over RA training. And she's been with me for a lot of things, for a lot of years. We have a wonderful daughter. She's about a year old. She's awesome. It's been so fun to sort of see her interact with the world and, just the way that she sees things and watching her grow and get older. My wife is a personal finance author. She's written 4 personal finance books titled Broke Millennial. And she's worked through that world. She does a lot of talks, a lot of financial conversations with folks, writing a lot of articles. So, she's been doing that since about 2017. And
you said you met her in RA training at St. Bonaventure?
I did. We just got to know each other. I complimented her shoes. I really like her shoes. And it sort of took off from there.
Do you remember what the shoes were like?
I do. They were orange, like boat shoes. And I've always enjoyed a good sneaker game. And so I was like, man, those are really cool sneakers. I'm gonna compliment her. And I had my eye for a little bit. I was like, oh, she's a girl, and kind of want to find a way to compliment her and get it in with her. And I had seen her around. She's pretty well known. It's a small college, so you get to know folks. But I was like, hey, yeah, I really like your shoes. There's any way I can eat lunch with you? And actually funny, I sat with her when she was eating lunch with a group of her friends, and it was like a Chinese course they were offering in the dining, and I just like poured a massive amount of soy sauce on my dish, and she's like, "That's going to be really salty. I hope you know that." Like, that's okay. I'm all right with it as long as I'm talking to you.
Exact. I love that line. I mean, I've heard a lot of lines. That is unique. What's her name and what's your daughter's name?
Her name is Lowry. Our daughter's name is Fiona. Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that from Shrek? Did you get it from Shrek?
We did not. No, it's just the name we liked.
Very pretty name.
So thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, what was it like? You were an RA for both junior and senior year.
I was, yeah. I don't know what got me to get into being an RA. I just think, well, they paid you. That was a major part. But I think I just wanted to do something a little different in college. I had roomed with former cat, former podcast extraordinaire Tyler Dietrich, who made that Bonaventure. We lived together for 2 years. Like, maybe I want to be a little different, support the freshmen and sophomores. So I was like, I'll try giving an RA.
Tell me a little bit about what it was like to be an RA. I was an RA in Geneseo, and you're kind of like you want to usher in the freshmen and provide some programs and stuff like that. What did you do as an RA?
Well, I was an RA for upperclassmen, so they were sophomore, junior. So I didn't really have that sophomore RA experience, which was okay. It was really fun to kind of get to know sophomores, juniors. They're a little more already integrated in college experience. You don't really have to like hold their hand in a way. But it was fun, just get to know them as people, support them in whatever they really needed. I had fun with that. I met a lot of good people.
Tell our viewers a little bit about what St. Bonaventure, Olean. What was that like? What the area?
St. Bonaventure is a wonderful. It's beautiful. I remember going into my senior year of high school, and my mom had brought me, and we just fell in love with it. It's right in the middle, sort of nowhere between Olean and Allegheny. You walk around campus. I'm sure you've brought your daughter there. The architecture is great. You get such beautiful foliage. Winters are a little rough. You get hit with the snow pretty good, but it's just a fantastic college campus, and it's really insulated in a way that you're kind of like not near a big city. And there's the things to do are at Bonaventure, right? You find the club, you find your people, you find things to do around college campus. And for me, that was being an RA, playing intramural sport. The college basketball games, unreal. Boys and girls teams are amazing. You kind of just like find your people, and you find the things that are important to you, and you do them. So I played flag football. So Tyler and I were on the same flag football team for all 4 years. Robin Hood, because we lived in Robinson Hall. We unfortunately made the championship 3 years in a row, which is heartbreaking. As a Bills fan, I can with my squad in that way. Played intramural basketball. They do I don't know if they do it anymore, a softball tournament every spring. We played that. Played intramural volleyball. They have a ton of options. It's cool to sort of get into a sport and play all that. And low stakes. It's kind of like playing intramural with some friends, and if you guys are bad, then who cares? And if you're good, it's a good time. So, yeah.
Didn't Coach Foreman have like your St. Lawrence basketball jersey in his office?
So he had my St. Leo's bio basketball jersey. I don't know why I completely forgot about that. And I actually remember seeing it when I subbed at Hilton in 2015. But yeah, Coach Foreman, I played CYO basketball for my church, and so for some reason I gave him my jersey as a parting gift. So
Well, he had it on his wall above his desk till the day he retired, which was last June. So you definitely made an impression on him, Mr. Pechie.
that means a lot.
What did you major or minor in when you went? Obviously, U.S. history. Did you go right into the field, or did it take you a little while to find your niche?
I think it definitely took me a little bit. I didn't really know what I wanted getting out of high school, going out of high school. I first went to Bonaventure for early childhood and early childhood, so it was just K through 6. Observed a couple classes, sort of went through that program. I realized that was really for me. I think I knew I wanted to be a teacher, but the age range of K through 6 wasn't really. I commend you. Being an elementary school teacher is a skill set that not a lot of teachers have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, why do I want to teach? And what is the sort of path in which I want to get into teaching? And I remember a lot of teachers that I've had throughout my time at Hilton were history teachers that really had a big impact on me. I think so. I was a history major. Oh, sure. I actually never had him, but Mr. Farr was just a. I remember he subbed for one of my classes once, and usually I wasn't one to do a lecture from a teacher, but I was just like gross the things that he was saying, such encyclopedic knowledge. I don't even remember what he was doing, but just it was the way he had for it, and this is really cool. And then Miss Sexton, my 12th grade government teacher, I remember this really stuck with me. She feedback on a essay that I did once that was, I forget the exact words, but you have a knack for writing this style. Like you should move on with it. I was like, wow, that means a lot to me. And so like,
Was that? Do you remember what teacher was that said that to you?
Miss Saxton.
Okay.
Yep. Just like, and I really she taught, and she made the history alive, and yeah, that's just a few of Mr. Rob. Was a fantastic Hilton. Miss Waddy, I think, was my 10th global teacher. She just had such such kind of, because it's one history, it's one thing, command the room, the energy, the attention of kids in there. So, and she was just fun.
So when it came time for you to pick a school, was it pretty obvious Bonaventure? Like, what were the other schools that you were thinking about?
So had applied to, you got it. And when we visited together, and visited together. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is the school I think I want to go to. I got in. I had a distinction on Fisher. But when the acceptance came from Bonaventure, I was pretty set on going there. It was close enough to home that if I needed to visit, folks needed to come down for whatever reason. Bonaventure was like a love at first sight kind of thing.
What are some historical places you visited in your life that have made an impression on you?
Well, I've been very blessed to be able to travel, certain parts of the world. One of the first international trip, I took a class at Bonaventure that studied Northern Ireland, the Protestant and Catholic issues that were happening in Northern Ireland and Ireland. And the entire crux of the trip was examining the troubles. We spent about 7 days in Northern Ireland and 3 days in Ireland, and that was just a phenomenal trip. I met people who worked for the Northern Ireland Army. I met people who like lived through the troubles, and it was just very eye-opening, especially with how recent. Um, Berlin with my wife. We checked out a lot of World War II history there. We went to Greece summers ago, and just there's so much history there. It's difficult to put into words. I my wife is pretty passionate about history as well. We both love sort of when going on vacation, see different historical facts and places. It's been a cool passion of the two of us can share.
When you started, what are you teaching now, or what other courses have you taught in your?
So I teach AP Government. I've been teaching AP Gov for about 3 years now. I had taught US for about 6 years, and then taught AP US for about 3. AP Gov is great. We're right now we're covering New York City mayoral. The kids are passionate about it. They see it. They're living it, and so we try to make it as real as possible by covering things that are relevant to the life. I am also the 12th grade senior sort of activities coordinator. So I help create the yearbook, make the senior hoodie, help plan senior trips, sort of just create senior vibes, seniors. And I'm also the 12th grade team leader at my school.
Oh, you got a lot going on there, Mr. Pechie.
I try to wear hats.
So you're saying that you're the AP government teacher, or so do you teach a lot of kids that they're going to be able to vote in this year's mayoral election, or?
Unfortunately, I don't have any kids who are going to be able to vote. I would, because that would be so much fun. But the age range, I think I have maybe a handful of kids who are going to be 18. Got them registered, right? Yeah, I got to make sure that they know to vote, know how to vote. But usually they're turning 18 by sort of the end of their semester.
How do you keep your political bias out of your instruction? Is that difficult?
Question. Yes and no. I try to give my kids I want them to have their own political sort of not biases. I want them to have their own political vantage points and viewpoints. I want to give them the tools that they need in order to go out and make an impact. What does that look like for me? Teaching them how to be media literate. Like, how do you know bad news? How do you know that this source is legit and that you can trust it versus this source is not? I do. I find it interesting. I don't try to hide my ideas because I think it's important for them to see that I'm a political being and that I care about politics.
Mm-hmm.
But I will never, fault a student for disagreeing with me. I actually love it. Those are the best kind of conversations when I say one thing and a student has another totally different vantage point. I teach a lot of kids who, their parents might have moved to America, or they might be the sons or daughters of immigrants. Teach a lot of students who come from so many different parts of the city, and they have such different lived experiences. So I think it's really important that we bring all those into the classroom and we can have a conversation about it. Because when they leave the class, that's what they're going to be doing. About it, hopefully with a way. So I want to give them the tools in order to do that. Mm-hmm. Big thing in AP Gov is the Constitution, right? And when we think about the Constitution, we have the freedom of speech, freedom of protest, and as long as you are engaging in your civic, duty and your civic responsibility of protest in the responsible way, it's a beautiful thing. It's actually funny. Yesterday, I don't know how she found it. A student of mine was canvassing for Zoran, and she showed up in my apartment. I was like, "Oh my God, it's good to see you!" Like, I was like so impressed and so happy. right? Because she's going out, she's doing the work, right? And for someone that's important to her. And so, back to your original question though, with the No Kings protest, as long as they're doing it, as long as you are engaging in your civic duty and you are making sure that your point is heard, but also heard in a way that doesn't impede on anyone,
Right,
or harm anyone. I think that's really important.
now getting back to your your yearbook and the responsible for the trip and the hoodie. How's the hoodie coming together?
Hoodie, it's slow roll.
Slow roll?
The activities in class, we need to get a little pep in our step. No, we've got some good designs.
Yeah.
We're going to vote Tuesday as a class, and then we're going to turn that to the rest of the seniors, and we'll hopefully get those ordered out by the end of the month, and we'll have those hoodies by February when it gets a little chilly.
How many seniors do you have in your school?
There's about 350 kids in our school, so I would say 80 seniors. Yes.
So that's really a quaint, small little class for seniors, then, huh?
It is. It's nice because you get to know the kids on a really personal level really quickly, just because there's not that many of them, right? I mean, I came to Hilton, and I think we had 400 kids in the senior class, and it's kind of crazy to think I am the sole AP Gov teacher at my school. I know at Hilton, right, there might have been 4 or 5 governors who were sort of divvying up responsibilities of teaching government to all 450 of the seniors. So it's a smaller school. Most of the high schools in New York are a little smaller. There was an initiative about 15 years ago in which they sort of chopped up a lot of the high schools. And so my school is in a building with 5 other high schools. Yeah. So it's I think it works a little bit better that way because it's a little more manageable. There's sort of less that you have to, less moving parts maybe.
You also said you're the leader of the 12th grade something. What was that?
Yeah, it's about the 12th grade team. So basically, the other seniors. Last year's senior trip was good, and we did 2 of them. We brought the kids to actually the largest indoor water park in North America. It's in New Jersey, American Dream Water Park, and that was a blast. Yeah, we had a great time. Kids did great. And then the second senior trip was not really what we thought it would be. It was a little too regimented. I think the kids had a little more freedom to go play basketball and to go on the rides and go into the lake. And that's what it was, and that's okay. So we haven't really chatted much about this year's senior trip. I think we're going to go with the water park again because that was fun.
Now, do you have to raise a lot of money for that, or does the school budget for their seniors?
It's a little bit of both. So the school is able to support some of the students in going on the trip. Again, a senior class of only 80, right? There's a little more flexibility with what you can do with some of the money. But it's a little bit of the school things like education and the kids for the entry into the park.
Now, tell me a little bit about the athletics, because you liked sports in high school. What's it like at your school?
Yeah, so like I said, the schools are sort of one building, and we have 5 small schools, and all 5 of those schools combine to make we're the MLK Knights, and actually pretty cool. The MLK Knights soccer is one of the best in the country. The boys soccer team, we have had young men go to the University of North Carolina, full ride, Georgetown, Connecticut, and all those are and so the soccer team is really fun. It's really fun to go to the games, and see them do their thing. Unfortunately, the way that New York City public school athletics work is they can't go to the state championship version of their sport, so it's just city championship, which is a little bit of a bummer because you'd like to see how they would match up against other schools in the state. But the soccer team is very successful.
Can you tell me why? Why don't they allow him to go to the States?
I don't know. I really never really know the answer to that question. Because I know Long Island schools participate in state championships, but the city schools, the New York City schools, don't know.
Now, have you found yourself coaching or anything, or being supervisors or scorekeepers at events?
Yeah, before my daughter I was the indoor and outdoor track coach, uh, and that was fun. The track team wasn't maybe as powerful as the soccer team, but we had fun. It was a lot of sprinting events. I really coached the throwers, the discus and shot put. But yeah, the track was fun.
Did you participate in that in high school?
I did. I actually ran track to sort of work on my steam football. But I turned out to be a pretty deep star. So we didn't have a coach for a while. Actually, Coach Foreman came out and he would coach with me and Fiona and we were the throwers on the team. And he coaches. But I was on. Yes.
What are some high school sports memories that stick in your head still?
I mean, I played football for years. Yeah, I'd be some of the different football teams, and it was a blast. I mean, the way that Hilton does their program is very impressive. I was thinking about it when we were reflecting on, because I was listening to a couple of other episodes of your show, and I was reflecting on the Hilton football program, especially when Tyler was on, and just the way that the coaches coach the young kids or to JV and varsity it's just such a linear trajectory, right? It like you learn the plays, you learn how to get into a huddle, you learn sort of like what's important. And I had such a blast playing football. My dad was one of the coaches in modified, and I remember the first day of practice was in the Merton Williams gym, and we're just sitting there, and my dad was always a really active participant in my brother, my sister, and my athletic lives, and he was just sort of sitting there watching, right? He was just hanging out because he was going to pick me up, and I don't know if it was you or Parks. He was like, "Hey, Peach, do you want to just come and hang out? You want to help?" I was like, "Sure." And I remember thinking, "Oh, is this going to be weird with my dad as a coach?" But it was such a blessing. It was so amazing to be able to share that with him. And reflecting on it now, how hard my dad worked at his 9 to 5 job, which wasn't 9 to 5. He was often working 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 p.m. He would come and coach me. It was just so awesome. It kind of just like built some of those like blocks in why football was so important to me. I met some of my best friends playing football. Tyler, Jeremiah, Clifford, Bacchus, Greg Earnhardt, Julian, just good dudes, right? And we were all on those modified teams, and we continued to play together when we were seniors.
And you guys were good kids. You worked hard, and you actually won games. You mentioned your dad and your mom. What are they up to these days?
Yeah, my dad still is at Kodak. I joke with him; he's going to turn the lights off at that place when they finally close. No, my dad, he's been at Kodak for 32 years now. He's a supervisor of the film division. He's worked in the film division all of his time at Kodak, and he's finally, he's worked really hard. I'm really proud of him because he's finally sort of getting some of his flowers for all the hard work that he's done. He's in a more managerial position. He's got that I like to joke about with him. And my mom, she was for a long time she was the youth minister at St. Leo's Church, St. Leo's Catholic Church in town, and she loved that. She was phenomenal at that job. And now she works at Rochester Regional Health, is a, I believe she works at Rochester Region.
Okay. And how about your siblings? How are they doing?
They're great. Mike, my older brother, he also works at Kodak, making a little business. He's working he's also a supervisor in the film division. And he also coaches, he's the defensive coordinator at E. And so while I root for Hilton, I also got a spot in my heart for the East. Both of which are going to be in sectional, so they do. And Lowry doing great. Two dudes of her own. They're awesome. Nephews are the coolest dudes. Kids, they're just full of energy. But she's a co-director at there at the Y in Penfield.
Is your brother Mike married, and does he have children?
Mike's married. His wife Rachel. They don't have kids, but they have a fantastic pooch named Moose. Just this like bull of a golden retriever. He's yellow, and he's awesome dog.
Do you have pets, or you're not allowed to in their Upper West Manhattan apartment?
We have a dog, a Tasker, named after should be in the Hall of Fame, Tasker. Tasker's great. She's great. She's about 6 years old. She's an Australian cattle dog, rat terrier, lab, pit bull mix, just a whole bunch of things. Fetch is her company.
Okay.
But, she's great. Yeah, she's
Oh, Pechie, you're so personable. I can see why your brother and your dad are in supervisory roles too at Kodak.
They great with it. I like teaching dads. Bring the donuts. Stop the rich donuts. Get those guys donuts.
I still remember coaching with your dad, and we went to like on the first away game at Churchville, and we had a big jug of water, and I'm like, all the kids, of course, you guys are all nervous about your game, and you leave the water. Well, your dad, he picked it up. Oh my gosh, I think he had to carry it like 500 yards. No complaints though out of him.
He's a strong dude. I'll give him credit. He's a strong dude. He can throw. Him and my brother. Have you ever seen my brother in person?
You haven't seen him in a while. I do remember something about Mike. I remember when he was playing, and they were taking it on the chin at halftime, and he got into the halftime before the coaches did and just kind of like read the team the riot act.
No, it's not right. Mike was very good at football, and yeah, I'm not surprised that he went in there and went crazy, but yeah.
And I remember Bundy, I forget, the younger Dodge, and he looked, he says, I love that. It was so cool. It was so cool.
That's surprising he's a coach now. So.
Yeah. And East, they're pretty good, right?
They are good. They've had a lot of really good talent go through there. They got a young man at Syracuse, who's playing great. They had a young, these names, I know Mike talks about them all the time, and they I can't remember. They've had some talent. Yeah, they made a pretty far in the championship run. Go. And they're a good team.
You got two high school teams you're kind of rooting for.
Yeah. I was weighing what I obviously have to the Hilton football, right? I do have the hoodie that I sometimes wear.
Some general questions about education. See what your opinion is. What role do extracurricular activities play in shaping high school education?
Huge role. I feel like we call it the core four, right? History, ELA, math, they're all extremely important. But giving sort of a reason to look forward to school in one way. Some kids math is a reason to school, and math is the reason really need to be. But some kids love music, and some kids love theater or sports, and so I feel like when we take those things away, we might be taking a bit of a passion away from kids. So, I'm all for making sure extracurriculars one day, and we have as many opportunities as we can, right? Even if we do the thing, give the kid the opportunity to do it. That might be the thing for that.
Has your school district or school faced potential cuts in those extracurriculars, or have they been pretty much funding them throughout your years?
Our school's done a pretty good job funded. It's such a small school that extracurriculars sometimes aren't as plenty as maybe like a Hilton might have. The 5 schools in the building come together for a theater performance. So it's not like my school on its own would do theater. It's sort of a collaboration between the other schools, the same with sports. But my school focus on media, and so we offer classes that pertain to media. There's a focus on making sure kids take art and kids have an opportunity to, and it's not just after school, right? You provide time during the school day for the kids to do that.
Something you mentioned earlier in the podcast, you mentioned about media literacy. Does your school offer a course for that, or do the teachers kind of put a tangent off when they're instructing the kids in English, let's say social studies?
I've sort of made it my passion to I'm the one who does that. I think it's really important, especially in a social studies classroom, to offer media literacy. But we must have spent like 2 weeks sort of just like looking at media bias, looking at the way that like you take a look at ABC, right, and how ABC owns ESPN, and or not. I think it's the other way around. Like Disney owns companies. So like taking a look at some companies might have sort of like a bigger picture in mind when they're reporting on things. So I try to make sure that I incorporate that into classes. So I will continue it throughout the year to make sure that we're staying on top of it.
Can you name any other reliable sources that you think are kind of cut right down the middle?
So there is a site that I give the students. It's I think it's Ad Fuentes. I'm mispronouncing it, but basically it's media or source reliability, right? And you're going to plug that source in, and the New York Times is a good example, right? You write the New York Times, and it sort of shows you, does it skew right? Does it skew left? Is it more fact-based reporting? Is it more bias-based reporting? Is it more analytical, descriptive? So we'll actually put it on a chart and show you how reliable that source is. And so I usually make my students use that chart whenever they do research or look for anything.
That is so valuable. What is the difference between historical facts and historical interpretations? And if you could give me an example.
Yeah. Historical facts, I would say, is a primary source. It's as simple as maybe a primary source. A diary, a photograph, a recording, a speech. I think those are, because there's been plenty of facts that we've seen in history. And then what was the second term that you said?
Is where I think we get a little muddled. Historical interpretations. Sometimes the interpretation might be correct, and sometimes it might be misinterpreted.
Yeah, and then I think historical interpretation is just, people looking at those primary sources or historical facts, and then putting their own spin on it, or sort of putting their own interpretation on it. I think both are very valuable. I think with historical fact, you get a little more. These are terms I use in the but like descriptive level information, right? Like this is the who, what, when, where, what. And then with historical interpretation, I think you get a little more of the how does this impact people? How are we going to feel this with cause and effect? How are we going to look at this in 15 to 20 years? How is it? Why did it happen in the first place?
That's a pretty good answer. I mean, I was asking maybe could you give me an example, but like, I don't know, you could probably go back to World War II or Vietnam when we got into that, maybe 20 years later, it's a different interpretation of that war.
For sure. I think even the way that you look at the public perception of Vietnam, the fact is the United States fought in this war for a reason, and then the analysis is, well, why are success? Some things might change it might be one answer Canadian in 2025.
What do you think is the most important historical event that people consistently misunderstand and they don't acknowledge it?
That's a great question. The Cold War as a whole had a pretty long, because it was such a massively long war. There was no fighting in the Cold War. It was like the proxy wars that happened in the Cold War. But I think the impacts of some of the things that we saw for 60, 70 years is because so much can be left up for interpretation over 70 years, right? You can take a look at one event, the impact is clear, but with something that large, the impact is a little.
Do you have any desire of moving on with education, getting a PhD or anything like that?
If you ask Michelle Pechie, she thinks I should be a principal yesterday. I appreciate that.
You're very measured and you're very logical.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I love teaching the students. I love interacting with the kids. I get a lot of fulfillment out of it. So I'm really enjoying what I'm doing right now. I think in the future, what I'd love to do is work at a university teaching like up and coming teachers, because I feel like some of my strengths are a little more human focused than academic focused. I certainly give my kids the content and the information they need, but I feel like what makes me a good teacher is the connections that I make with the kids. So I think that's why I want to stay in the classroom in any capacity, right? Classroom teaching, 17, 18-year-old seniors or 22-year-old college kids.
I mean, do you know what I've found in my career is the people that should go into administration, and you ask a question of, hey, why don't you go into administration? They say, I really like teaching the kids. I like that connection.
Yeah, it's I don't blame them. I don't blame them for saying that. And thank you. Yeah. The same reason why I'm sure you stayed teaching did you teach third grade, right?
I'm in third grade, yeah.
Okay. That's such an important.
Yeah, I mean, it is important. Every year is pretty much important, but getting back to you, what are the biggest challenges you face in history teaching today?
It's always changing. I love the question that you had brought up about like historical facts and historical interpretation, because the interpretations are always shifting. So I try my best to stay on top of sort of like the changing tides and how things are different. Especially in government, we live in a tumultuous time in terms of government. A lot of people have thoughts and feelings on the government, and so I feel like staying as possible has been a challenge for me sometimes. But that I think is one of the most important things, especially for a high school teacher. So that I think is probably the biggest challenge. Yeah.
You're perfect as a history teacher, because I don't even think, you said earlier how it's hard for your political views not to come through, but you're also pretty measured in how you talk about them.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I want my students to leave the classroom to like that way as well. I think I want them, if they want to scream what's important to them, I want them to do that. But I also want them to be able to back it up and support with important reasoning.
What is your favorite period of history to teach, and why?
New York City is. I missed U.S. history for that reason alone. Have you ever seen the HBO show Gilded Age?
What's it called?
Gilded Age?
No, I haven't.
It's great. It's a bio, time like a biopic piece sort of show. It's about the Gilded Age, but I love teaching that. There's so much of New York City from the Gilded Age to relevant.
Mm-hmm.
There's a museum in the Lower East Side, Tenement Museum, and I love it there. It's great. So teaching about like Rockefeller and Carnegie, because you walk down Midtown Manhattan, Rockefeller Center. You go by 15th Street and there's Carnegie Hall. So that time period in U.S. history is, and there was just so much wealth, and there was just so much, just so many things happening. So much of the groundwork for sort of like the government making sure that we're okay happened during that time period. If you walk around New York, these little each restaurant has a grade, ABC, or you if there's B, you're going to be out of business. But it's like your health code inspection, like that's from the Gilded Age. That's from so many of the progressive era. So it's just like you see the Gilded Age in New York still in 2025. I miss teaching it.
How do you keep your passion for history alive while teaching? Not just going through the motions of here's the facts. Like, how do you keep it lively? What's the spice in Joe Pechie's classroom?
I get loud. It's I drink a lot of coffee. Kids know I drink a lot of coffee. But I think making the real world application, trying to, if we're going to teach, so we're doing the mayoral race. Not a mayor, one of the candidates is on free child care, and a lot of my students have little brothers. They have maybe like a 2 brother or sister. This is relevant. Mom and dad really use this if that's what they want. So I try to find a real world application, and just give them an access point to history. We're just learning about people. Find a way to get them inspired because it's interesting to them for some reason. I think that's the accent.
How has artificial intelligence impacted your teaching?
I can't do AI. I don't. It's tough. I don't know, man. Look, if I Google something and AI pops up with an answer, and I can just plug that in, great. But I'm struggling with the AI stuff. I just don't get it. I think it's important, and I think that I'm sure it's very beneficial in some ways, but I see some of the detriments to it, especially like students will write essays that are AI generated. Come on, this is not us. There's no real thought in this. So I hope that education and AI stay away from each other a little bit.
How do you implement technology into your teaching?
Well, especially during the pandemic, technology was huge. You know this. The Chromebooks, the online learning. But today, students still have Chromebooks. And so, some lessons will be all on Google Classroom, where, I'll be like, hey guys, get your computers, the slides, the worksheet, Google Classroom. I'm just going to follow along with me, and it's a quick and easy way for them to do the work, especially if we're going to do a lesson, sort of like examining several different websites like New York Times, Wall Street Journal. Like if we're like bounced around to different places that have different information, I'll certainly have them use computers. Yeah, that's kind of how I get I'll use technology in the classroom. It's an important job. Read, but yeah, just find what's passionate to you in history. Like if you're really fascinated by World War II, just go in on it. Because that's another thing. Back to one of your questions was how do you like the passion? Is if you're really passionate about something, even if it's boring, the kids sort of buy into it. Mm-hmm. The most passionate thing I am in life about is the Buffalo Bills, and so the kids when I talk about the kids, they know how much it means to me. So they know who Josh Allen is. but no, I think be passionate and find a way to make the history come alive. And I think stay informed.
What makes Hilton a special place to visit when you get a chance?
I think the community is really, really strong. The Apple Fest, I always get a little pang of I can't make it back for the Apple Fest because it's like it's a beautiful festival. It's a small town, but there's a lot of happen there. Right? The school is great. You know, the Hilton school network is fantastic. I think not just because of the teachers and the admin. I think the people in the community are into it. Hilton Parma Recreation is awesome. I remember like football growing up, rec basketball. Drew's dad is a major part of that. And I know Tom Nero is doing a great job as well. So you have people who buy into each other. That's kind of what makes it really thrive.
I got a couple more fun questions before I let you go. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I would love to be able to. I want to show up at a location because it'd be cool. It'd be cool to show up in Rochester and be like, "Oh, hey, what's up? What's up, man? How you doing?" Or like transport, like, "Oh, I want to go to Italy today." I'm going to Italy.
So what's that, like a portal? You want to have your own portal?
I think just you just sit in the corner of your apartment. It's just like you type in where you want to go and bang.
Well, maybe sometime in your lifetime they'll have that capacity.
That would, my fear of AI, so I don't know if I would totally buy that.
What's your favorite way to spend a day off?
Being with my family, spending with my family, my wife and her. Just go to Central Park and walk around.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a coffee shop. Take the dog out. I've been running lately. Go for a little bit. I like to bake. So and they just fixed the oven today, which is huge. I've been without a baking ability for 6 months, and just in time for fall. So let's get the pumpkin cakes going.
There you go. Do you have a specialty that you bake? Like
I like a pie. I'm pretty good at baking.
You're pretty good baking pies? Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. You talked about traveling earlier. If you could travel anywhere in the world tomorrow, where would you go?
I really want to do New Zealand or Australia. I would love to do the Lord of the Rings walk in New Zealand. There's like you can like walk path like they filmed in Lord of the Rings. So New Zealand, I think, would be really cool. South Africa, I think, would be awesome. Do a safari in South Africa would be fun.
What's your favorite book or movie and why?
Favorite movie? I'm going to pick several because it's difficult to pick one. Goodfellas is a classic. Planes, Trains, Automobiles it's a perfect Thanksgiving movie. Everyone gets really excited about Christmas movies. We don't give enough love to Thanksgiving movies. John Candy is great in that movie. Steve Martin. When You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks, I get into it, and it takes place on the so right in my backyard.
Does your wife like movies? Do you guys hang out and watch them together?
We'll watch them together. Yeah. We got into it like around Tom Hanks a couple years ago, and so we'll watch some movies together.
Tell me a little bit about your role in the 259 show. I talked to Tyler a little bit about that.
40 guys. I haven't had a chance to talk about those guys much today.
Hey, go for it. Talk about your friends from high school. You go for it.
Yeah, no, it's just like a good group of guys. The 259 show was just fun. It was just us chatting about. We kind of talked about nothing. We just talked a lot about food and sports. Sort of like the happening in the Rochester area.
Mm-hmm.
Me, Drew, Tyler, Deidre, Mike Vincent. Yeah, we would keep our eye on if we wanted to, sort of test the appropriateness because he would get it there. Greg frequently. He's just a good guy. We have common friends sometimes, just hang out and be fun to talk. And it was also cool to like keep in touch. Life got busy. We all married, kids. Before that, we were still busy. But it was a great way to come once every other week to chat and see how life is going.
Kept me very entertained, just to let you know.
I've been trying to get the guys that we need to do like a comeback episode.
I think you do. Relive it. What's the most unusual thing you've ever eaten?
My father-in-law once made me try like squid.
Okay.
So we were at a sushi spot, and this is when my now wife, then girlfriend, we were about 3 years into dating, 4 years into dating, and my father-in-law came to visit. We went out to dinner, and we went to sushi, ordered some things, and he said, "Hey, why don't you try this?" And it was like the squid tentacles, and it wasn't very big; it was tiny. But it's like, you know what, I should probably do this. Wasn't a fan.
Was it fried or was it like?
No, it was raw.
Oh,
yeah.
So that's a good future son-in-law, though.
I did what I could.
What's your favorite food now that we got away from the most unusual?
Go breakfast food. You'd sort of eat breakfast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Give me a good New York City bagel.
No kidding.
With a little scallion, cream cheese, put a little lox on there. My grandma's meatballs. I had a lot of fun raising those. My brother and I do a pretty good job of cooking them. I'm sorry, Mom. I had to learn how to make those meatballs.
Do you have a favorite quote?
Well, where else would you rather be? Right here, right now.
Oh boy, because you're a big Bills fan, of course, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was our great. He's still alive, right, Marv Levy?
Yeah. He just turned 99.
That's incredible. He's going to make it to 100, right?
Man, he looks fantastic. He's age too.
I was watching the beginning before a game, and I forget what player was riling up the crowd, and that's the quote he used.
It's really cool. They do for every home game. They bring out like a legend. Jackson, Andre Reed. Before the playoff game last year, they brought Fitzpatrick and ripped his shirt off. They'll get the crowd to do that, and every time you see it on Twitter, it's gets you pumped.
Are they going to make a comeback right now? They dropped a couple in a row and haven't looked so good doing it.
That's my dad. There's a couple moves they need to make. I think they'll be all right. I think McDermott is a great coach. I think when you got the MVP, a lot of crazy things can happen. I think they'll be all right. I mean, they got a good spot. They need a little rest. They got some guys coming back, hopefully from injury. So that'll be big.
Sounds good, Joe. Favorite television show?
I'm going to pick 3 again. I'm going to go Young Joe, Middle Joe, and Adult Joe. Young Joe loved The Simpsons. Yep. Yeah, and I still will just put it on as a comfort show. The Office.
I just want to say I thought Young Joe was the name of a show. I was writing it down.
Oh, no.
All right, so you got Simpsons and next one?
The Office.
Yep.
Just classic. I usually put that on the post. And then SNL. I'm a big SNL fan. Yeah.
Era? Or like a particular, compilation of actors and actresses?
The group that had Kristen Wiig, Jesus. It was like 2003, 2005. He's the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But it's like Wig, Ian Thompson was on there forever. But that was just such a studied cast. And I'll go back to those clips. Like everything is perfect. Like the Lonely Island guys, they were hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a podcast. My wife just dying for me to listen to.
Great. Well, this is my final question. I think it's perfect with you being a history teacher. Person from history you'd like to have dinner with and why? And it could be familial. It could be someone from historical history. Well, historical history. And you can pick more than one.
I'm going to take four. Historical pick. I think to pick his name about.
Who's that again? Can you say his name?
Delano Roosevelt. New Deal president, president, 4 terms in a row president. Man, the stuff he must have seen is insane. I always loved John Madden. He always just seemed just like such a good coach of the game.
Yeah.
And just like when I was 2003, I was 13 years old, got mad at him for the first time. I was like, this is the greatest game I've ever played in my life. And I was like, you want that on TV? And I'm thinking John Madden. My great-grandfather, Boreal Rossi. I never got a chance to meet him. But I've seen photos of him. Fantastic head of hair. Just like, he just seemed like a really good dude. He was a Rochester police officer. Played semi-pro baseball. Yeah. And he just, I was really close with my grandma, his daughter. I spent a lot of time with my mama. She was wonderful. And if he's anything like her, I meet him.
Well, Joe, I've really enjoyed our time together here on this podcast. I've learned so much about you. I think your future's bright, whatever you decide to go to, whether it's, working with your family, working more on your family. Any final thoughts?
No, I had such a pleasure chatting with you. It's crazy that we've been talking for an hour. It seems like 10 minutes. We didn't get to talk about he's so pumped for Bonaventure girls basketball. The ice, she's been doing things. But no, go Bill. Together, let's
go Cadets. And what's the East team's mascot?
They're the.
All right. Well, let's do that. But yeah, Joe, your future's great. And I really appreciate you joining me on the Big H podcast. I wish you the best of luck in your future with teaching and your family. Thanks to the audience. If you'd like anything you've seen, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode. Follow me on X, Spotify, Apple Podcasts at the Big H Podcast. Joe, don't go off after I press off here, but it's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style. From the highs to the lows, every story just explodes. Mike's got questions on the go, diving deep from head to toe. Every week the guests align, sharing moments so divine. Stay with us, the pace is fine. Every episode you'll find